When life feels uncertain and the future seems unclear, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Worry starts to sneak in, bringing doubts about what lies ahead. But remember, we're not walking this path alone. God sees every twist and turn, every detour and every delay. He knows the road we can't see. His plan for you was written long before you took your first breath. It's not a plan made hastily, but one that is perfect, intentional, and full of purpose. The same God who created the skies, spoke the stars into existence, and keeps the earth spinning is also guiding every detail of your life. That's why we can trust Him. When you feel stuck, confused, or abandoned, remember this: your view is limited, but God's is infinite. Where we see a dead end, He sees opportunity. Where we see a storm, He sees the rainbow. You may feel lost, but to God you're not lost. He is the Good Shepherd, and He will lead you to calm waters if you allow Him. You don't need to figure out everything now or have all the answers. Just take the next step in faith. Proverbs 3:5-6 tells us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. Did you catch that? He will make your paths straight. Not you, not your worries, not your plans. God Himself will do it. So if the road ahead seems foggy, don't panic. Don't rush trying to force a solution. Stand firm and trust God. He will open the right path. When He does, you'll look back and see His fingerprints on every step. Sometimes the hardest thing to accept is that God's timing doesn't match ours. We're used to instant results, but God operates on an eternal timeline. His timing isn't late, it's perfect. He's never early, never late, but always right on time. When we don't see things happening as quickly as we want, it's easy to get impatient or discouraged. We might start questioning, why hasn't this door opened yet? Why is this taking so long? Does God even hear my prayers? But just because God's answer hasn't come yet doesn't mean He's forgotten you. Delays are not denials. Ecclesiastes 3:11 tells us that God makes everything beautiful in its time, not our time, but His. When God delays something, it's not to punish us, but to prepare us. Sometimes we're not ready for what we're asking for. He's working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, preparing people, and setting things in motion. Think about the story of Lazarus in John. When Jesus heard Lazarus was sick, He didn't rush to heal him. He waited. To those around Him, it seemed like Jesus was too late. Lazarus had already died, but what they thought was a delay was actually part of a greater plan. Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, showing God's glory in a way that wouldn't have happened if He'd arrived sooner. God's timing didn't just meet their expectations, it exceeded them. The same is true for us. We may not understand why we're waiting, but we can trust that God's timing is for our good and His glory. Waiting is not wasted when it's in God's hands. It's during the waiting seasons that our faith is strengthened. We learn patience and to trust Him more deeply. And when the time comes, when the door finally opens, when the breakthrough happens, we will see that it was worth the wait. So don't let the clock dictate your faith. Don't let the passing days, weeks, or years shake your trust in God. Instead, rest assured that His timing is perfect, His ways are higher, and He will not fail you. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that can paralyze us. It whispers doubts into our minds, creates scenarios that haven't even happened, and convinces us that the worst outcome is certain. But God calls us to something greater: faith. Faith isn't just a feeling, it's an unshakable trust in the One who holds everything together. It's choosing to believe in God's promises, even when fear is shouting in our ear. The Bible tells us, do not fear, more than 365 times, one for each day of the year. Why? Because God knows fear is one of the greatest challenges we face, but He also knows that faith is the antidote. Faith and fear cannot exist in the same space. When we fill our hearts with faith, fear has no place. Remember Peter walking on water in Matthew 14. When Peter stepped out of the boat, his faith was strong. His eyes were on Jesus, and he did the impossible. He walked on water. But when Peter took his eyes off Jesus and focused on the wind and waves, fear took over, and he began to sink. The same happens to us. When we focus on the challenges, the uncertainties, and the what-ifs, fear creeps in and pulls us down. But when we fix our eyes on Jesus, faith lifts us above the waves. Faith doesn't mean we'll never feel afraid. It means we don't let fear control us. It's a decision to trust that God is bigger than our circumstances, our doubts, and our storm. In Isaiah 41:10, God says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." That's his promise. He's with us, and he will uphold us, no matter what we face. When we choose faith over fear, we're not just saying we trust God, we're showing it. We're stepping out in confidence, knowing that he's in control. Fear may knock, but faith is what gives us the strength to say, I don't need to worry because my God is with me. Faith is what keeps us moving forward when fear tells us to stop. So whatever storm you're facing right now, don't let fear hold you back. Remember, fear focuses on the size of the problem, but faith focuses on the size of our God, and our God is greater than anything we will ever choose faith. Keep your eyes on Jesus. Trust that he will lead you through. When worry weighs heavy on your heart, prayer becomes your lifeline. Prayer isn't just a religious duty, it's a direct conversation with the Creator. It's where we lay down our burdens and exchange them for his peace. Philippians 4:6-7 reminds us, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Prayer transforms not only our circumstances, but also our perspectives. Often, we ask God to change our situation, but the first thing he changes is us. Prayer shifts our focus from our problems to his promise. It reminds us that we're not carrying life's burdens alone. God is walking beside us every step of the way. When we take our worries to God, we place them in the hands of the one who holds everything together. We're saying, Lord, I can't do this on my own, but I know you can. In that moment of surrender, his peace begins to flow into our hearts. It's not peace that comes from the absence of problems, but peace that comes from the presence of God. Even Jesus, before facing the cross, went to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. He poured out his heart to the Father, asking if there was another way, but he ultimately surrendered to God's will. If the Son of God turned to prayer in his darkest hour, how much more should we? Sometimes we may feel like we don't have the right words to pray. Our hearts may be so heavy that all we can do is sit in silence or cry out to God, and that's okay. Romans 8:26 tells us that the Spirit helps us in our weakness and intercedes for us with groans that words cannot express. God doesn't need eloquence, he needs honesty. He's not looking for perfect prayers, he's looking for open hearts. The next time worry starts creeping in, don't let it take root. Instead, take it to God in prayer. Tell him your fears, your doubts, and your struggles. Be honest about how you're feeling. As you pray, trust that he hears you. Trust that he's working, even if you can't see it yet. Let his peace guard your heart and mind as you wait for him to open the right path. Prayer changes everything, because it connects you to the one who can change anything. God's word is one of the greatest gifts he has given us. It's not just a book filled with stories or advice, it's a living, breathing guide for our lives. Psalm 119:105 says, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. When the road ahead feels dark, God's word is the light that shows us the next. The Bible isn't just about information, it's about transformation. Every time you open it, you meet with God himself. His promises, wisdom, and truth are there to guide you. When worry clouds your vision or fear grips your heart, his word cuts through the noise and reminds you of who he is and what he's promised. It assures us that we're not alone, that he's in control, and that his plans for us are good. God's word spoke to people throughout history. When Joshua was about to lead the Israelites into the promised land, God told him to meditate on his word day and night so he would have courage and success. Joshua 1. When David faced overwhelming battles, he turned to God's word for strength, declaring, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. Even Jesus, when tempted in the wilderness, used scripture to stand firm against the enemy. The same power that sustained Joshua, David, and Jesus is available to us today. God's word has the power to break chains, renew minds, and restore hope. But here's the key. It has to be more than something we occasionally glance at. It needs to become part of our daily life. Just like a lamp lights up the darkness, step by step, God's word provides guidance. It doesn't always show us the whole picture, but it gives enough light for the step we need to take today. When you're feeling lost, turn to scripture. When you're unsure of what to do next, let the word of God speak to your heart. The answers you're looking for may not come in a booming voice or a lightning bolt moment, but they will come in the quiet, steady voice of God through his word. It might be a verse that encourages you, a story that strengthens your faith, or a promise that gives you peace. Don't let your Bible sit closed. Dive into it. Highlight the verses that speak to you and memorize the promises that remind you of God's faithfulness. When the road ahead feels uncertain, Cling to His word. Let it be your anchor, your compass, and your light. It will guide you through every storm and lead you to the path God has prepared for you. His word is always faithful, always true, and always exactly what you need. Letting go and letting God take control is one of the hardest but most freeing things we can do. We like to hold tightly to the reins of our lives, making plans, setting goals, and working hard to ensure everything goes as we envision. But what happens when things don't go according to plan? What happens when life throws us a curveball and we can't fix it? That's when we're reminded of a profound truth: we are not in control, but God is. Surrendering to God isn't about giving up, it's about giving over. It's about acknowledging that His ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. Isaiah 55:8. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring or stop working hard. It means we stop trying to do it all ourselves and allow God to step in and take the lead. Think about a child learning to ride a bike. At first they want to do it alone, gripping the handlebars tightly, but they wobble and fall because they haven't learned balance. Then the parent steps in, holding onto the seat. The child may still try to steer, but it's the parent's steady hand that keeps them moving forward. That's how it is with God. When we try to do everything ourselves, we struggle. But when we let go and trust Him, He keeps us steady and leads us in the right direction. Consider Proverbs 16:9. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. This verse reminds us it's okay to plan, but we need to surrender our plans to God. He sees the bigger picture, and He knows what's best for us. Sometimes we cling to things that aren't good for us, and God asks us to let go, not to harm us, but to protect us and make room for something better. When we release our grip, we make room for God's power to work in our lives. Jesus said in Matthew 11:28-30, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." What a beautiful promise. When we hand over our burdens to Him, He replaces them with rest. When we release control, He replaces it with peace. So whatever you're holding on to today, whether it's a problem you can't solve, a dream that feels out of reach, or a fear that's keeping you up at night, let it go. Place it in God's hands. Trust that He is working, even if you can't see it yet. The act of surrender isn't a sign of weakness, it's a declaration of faith. It's saying, God, I trust you more than I trust myself. Let go and let God. When you do, you'll discover freedom and peace that can only come from knowing He is in control. And you'll see how He weaves all things together for your good and His glory. When we find ourselves in moments of uncertainty, it can be easy to become overwhelmed by the chaos of life. The world often demands that we keep up with the rapid pace of everything, leading to a constant battle with stress and anxiety. But even in the midst of confusion, we can rest in the truth that God's plan for us is greater than any obstacle we might face. His understanding far surpasses our own, and He is never caught off guard by the events that unfold in our lives. Each of us is carefully designed with purpose, and though the road may seem unclear at times, it is being guided by His loving hand. Our journey may have twists and turns that we did not expect, but every step we take is within His plan. Even in moments when we feel lost or unsure of the next move, God's presence remains constant. We often focus on the setbacks, the moments when everything seems to be falling apart. But what if we looked at those very moments as opportunities for growth? What if we stopped focusing on the uncertainty and instead fixed our eyes on the one who holds the answers to all of our questions? We have been given the gift of faith, not to erase the difficulties of life, but to help us navigate through them with a sense of peace and assurance that only comes from knowing God is in control. The world may offer temporary solutions to life's struggles, but God offers eternal peace. When we turn to Him, we are reminded that we are not walking through life on our own. Even when we feel abandoned, we are never alone. His love surrounds us, and He is always present, even in the most difficult moments. His promises are steadfast and unchanging, and He is faithful to carry us through. Faith isn't about waiting for our circumstances to change before we believe. It's about trusting that God is working even when we cannot see it. Faith is the fuel that keeps us moving forward, even when the path ahead seems unclear. It is through our faith that we can hold on to the hope that God is guiding us, leading us to the life He has planned for us. Every step we take, whether in joy or sorrow, is a step that brings us closer to the purpose He has designed for us. We often try to control our own destiny, making plans and seeking security in the things that we can see, but God asks us to release control and trust in His divine time. Just as a parent guides a child through life, God gently holds our hand through each season, teaching us the lessons we need to learn along the way. He is the steady hand that holds us up, when we feel like we're about to fall, the light that guides us when everything around us seems dark. Trusting in God's timing doesn't mean that life will be without its challenges, but it means that even in the midst of trials, we can have peace. God's timing is never late, nor is it too early. It is always perfect. It is in the waiting that we grow stronger in our faith, developing patience and learning to rely on His strength. We are constantly being molded and shaped into who God created us to be, and it's through the challenges we face that we are refined. Each obstacle is an opportunity for growth, and every trial serves to make us more resilient in the face of adversity. God is not distant from our struggles, but very present, working in ways that we cannot always understand. Our perspective is limited, but God's is infinite. When we face hardships, it's easy to question why things aren't happening the way we expect. But we must remember that His ways are higher than ours, His plan is greater, and His timing is perfect. We may not see the whole picture, but He sees everything, and His path for us is always the right one. Sometimes it's in the quiet moments, when we feel like nothing is happening, that God is doing His greatest work. He is behind the scenes, aligning everything perfectly for the future He has for us. Every small detail is part of the grand design, and though we may not understand it all right now, we can trust that it's all leading us towards something beautiful. As we wait for the fulfillment of God's promises, we must remain steadfast in our faith, knowing that His timing will never disappoint us. He will open doors at the right moment, and He will make our paths clear. It's easy to get frustrated with the waiting, but we must remember that God is working in ways that we cannot yet see. His delays are not denials, they are simply part of His perfect plan unfolding. While we may desire immediate answers, God's timing is always perfect, and when we look back, we will see that everything happened exactly as it should. The journey may not always be easy, and we may encounter many challenges along the way, but we can trust that God is using each of those moments to prepare us for what lies ahead. It's in those moments of waiting, when we feel like nothing is happening, that we can grow the most. Our faith is strengthened as we learn to trust God more deeply and rely on His provision. Every trial we face becomes an opportunity for us to deepen our trust in His faithfulness. As we lean into God's promises, we can rest assured that He is guiding us toward a future that is filled with hope and purpose. The road ahead may not always be clear, but we can trust that God will reveal the next step when the time is right. He will never leave us or forsake us. We are not alone in this journey. With God by our side, we can face any challenge and overcome any obstacle. We are not defined by our circumstances, but by the God who is always with us. His love is constant, His presence is steadfast, and His promises are sure. So when life feels uncertain and the road ahead seems unclear, remember that God is with you. He is faithful, and His plan for your life is greater than anything you could imagine. Hold on to His promises, trust in His timing, and step forward in faith, knowing that He is leading you every step of the way. When the road feels unclear and life becomes overwhelming, we often find ourselves questioning our path, wondering if we're on the right journey. The fear of the unknown creeps in, causing doubts about what the future holds. It's in these moments of uncertainty that we are reminded of the importance of holding on to faith as not just a passive belief, but an active trust in God's goodness, His ability to guide us, and His perfect timing. Even when we cannot see the next step, we can trust that He is leading us to exactly where we need to be. Life can be unpredictable, but there is one thing that remains constant: God's faithfulness. His promises are unshakable, and His love is unwavering. When we walk through the valleys, we can take comfort in knowing that God is with us. He knows the end from the beginning, and His plans for us are always for good. As we navigate life's challenges, we are being shaped, refined, and prepared for something great. The journey may not always look like we expected, but it is in the unexpected that God often works His greatest miracles. We must remind ourselves that what we see as obstacles are often opportunities in disguise. Every challenge, every setback, is a part of God's greater plan. Just as a sculptor chisels away at a block of marble to reveal a beautiful statue, God is chiseling away at our lives, removing the unnecessary and refining us into something great. It's easy to become discouraged when things don't go as planned, but we must remember that God's ways are not our ways. He sees the big picture, and what might seem like a delay or a setback is often part of the process that leads to our transformation. When we face difficulties, we can rest in the knowledge that God is using those moments to grow our character, build our faith, and draw us closer to Him. The Bible reminds us that trials and hardships are not meaningless. They are part of the refining process that makes us strong. Just as gold is refined by fire, our faith is strengthened through the challenges we face. God allows us to go through trials not because He wants to hurt us, but because He wants to prepare us for the future He has planned. It is through the fire that we are purified, and it is in the waiting that we learn to trust Him more fully. When we face difficulties, it is easy to look at our circumstances and question why things aren't going the way we plan. But in those moments, we must turn our focus away from our problems and onto God. He is the source of our strength, and it is through Him that we find the courage to keep moving forward. The path may not always be easy, but God's presence will guide us through every In the midst of uncertainty, we are called to trust, not in our own understanding, but in God's perfect wisdom. His plans are always greater than ours, and He will lead us to places we could never have imagined. We may not always understand why things happen the way they do, but we can trust that God is working all things together for our good. In the moments of waiting, when everything seems still and we feel stuck, we can find peace in the assurance that God is not. He is at work, preparing us for what lies ahead. While we may not see immediate results, God is faithful to His promises. Just as a seed takes time to grow, so too does the work God is doing in us. We may not see the harvest immediately, but if we remain faithful and trust in His timing, we will see the fruit of our labor in due time. It's in these waiting seasons that our faith is tested and strengthened. When we are tempted to give up, we can remind ourselves that God is never late, and His timing is always perfect. Every step we take in faith brings us closer to the fulfillment of His plan. The road ahead may not always be clear, and there will be times when the journey feels uncertain, but we can be confident that God is leading us every step of the way. He is not a distant observer, but an active participant in our lives, guiding us, protecting us, and providing for us. Even when we cannot see the next step, we can trust that He is already there, preparing the way. Our faith is not just in the destination, but in the process. The journey itself is shaping us, preparing us for the future God has in store. Every twist and turn, every challenge is leading us closer to the person God has created us to be. As we continue walking in faith, we must remember that the obstacles we face are not the end of the story. Just as a seed must first be buried in the soil before it can sprout and grow, we too must go through the process of growth and refinement before we can fully step into the destiny God has for us. It's in the waiting, in the moments of uncertainty, that God is preparing us for something great. As we trust in His timing and His plan, we can have confidence that He is working all things together for our good. When the road ahead seems long and difficult, we must remember that God is with us every step of the way. His presence gives us the strength to keep going, and His promises give us the hope to press on. We may not always understand the process, but we can trust that God is faithful. His love never fails, and He will never leave us or forsake us. He is with us in the valley, on the mountaintop, and everywhere in between. As we continue walking in faith, we can trust that God is not just leading us to a destination, but walking with us every step of the way, shaping us, guiding us, and preparing us for the future He has planned. We may not always see the whole picture, but we can trust that God sees it all, and He is working everything out for our good. So when life feels uncertain, and the road ahead seems unclear, remember that God is with you. He is guiding you, leading you, and preparing you for what lies ahead. Trust in His timing, trust in His plan, and know that every step you take is part of the greater journey He has for you. The road may not always be easy, but it is worth it, because God is with you every step of the way. Keep walking in faith, keep trusting in His promises, and know that He will never leave you. His love for you is unshakable, and His plan for your life is greater than anything you could ever imagine. So as you face the challenges of life, trust in the one who holds your future. He is faithful, and He will lead you to exactly where you need to be. As we continue this journey of life, we may often find ourselves standing at a crossroads, unsure of which direction to take. In moments like these, it's easy to feel lost or uncertain. We may look around and see others confidently walking down their paths, seemingly knowing exactly where they're going, while we are left in a state of doubt. It is in these moments that God gently calls us to trust Him, to lean not on our own understanding, but on His infinite wisdom. The path that seems unclear to us is already mapped out by Him, and even when we can't see the full picture, we can rest in the assurance that He sees everything. Every twist and turn that feels confusing, every detour that seems unnecessary, is part of the greater plan that God has for us. Our journey is not random, it is intentional, guided by a loving God who desires the best for us. There will be times when we feel like we're walking in circles, unsure of our purpose or the next step. But God's plan is never in circles. It is a straight path, leading us to the place He has prepared for us. Even when the road feels long and we feel like we're not making progress, God is working in the unseen. He is planting seeds in our hearts, cultivating our character, and preparing us for the next phase of our journey. The waiting periods are never wasted. It's in the waiting that we are refined, our hearts stretched, and our faith strengthened. Trusting in God's timing is not always easy, especially in a world where instant gratification is the norm. We live in a society that demands results now, but God's ways are different. He operates on an eternal timeline, and while we may feel impatience growing within us, He is working behind the scenes to prepare us for what's next. When we surrender our control and trust Him with the timing, we are allowing Him to orchestrate the events of our lives in perfect harmony. We might not understand why certain things are taking longer than expected, but we can trust that He is making everything beautiful in its time. In the moments of waiting, God is building our faith, teaching us patience and showing us that He is faithful to His word. As we grow in trust, we begin to see that waiting is not a waste of time. It's an investment in our future, one that will pay off in ways we cannot yet comprehend. There will be seasons when it feels like the world around us is moving forward while we remain still. But God has a different definition of progress. His progress is not measured by the speed at which we move, but by the depth of our relationship with Him. When we wait on Him, He draws us closer to His heart, and it is through that closeness that we find the strength to keep moving forward. We often look at others and compare their progress to our own, but we must remember that each of us is on a unique journey. Our paths are different, our timelines are different, and our purposes are different. What God has for someone else may not be the same as what He has for us, and that is perfectly okay. His plan for us is tailor-made, designed specifically for who we are and what we are called to do. Just because someone else seems to be ahead doesn't mean we're behind. God's timing is perfect, and we can trust that He is leading us exactly where we need to be. The world may tell us that we need to have everything figured out by a certain age, but God's timeline doesn't follow the world's expectation. He doesn't measure success by how quickly we achieve our goals. He measures it by our willingness to walk in obedience, to trust Him through every step, and to surrender our plans to Him. Sometimes we may feel discouraged because things aren't happening as quickly as we had hoped. We may start to question whether we heard God correctly or whether we're on the right path. But it's in those moments of doubt that we must remind ourselves that God's plan is always greater than our own. We cannot see the future, but He can, and He is always working for our good. When the road seems unclear and the destination feels far off, God is still at work. Even in the waiting, even in the uncertainty, He is shaping us, preparing us, and positioning us for the future He has for us. His purpose for our lives is not dependent on how quickly we move, but on our willingness to trust Him, no matter how long the journey takes. It's not about the destination, it's about the process and the transformation that happens along the way. The waiting is where our character is formed, where we learn to trust, to rely on His strength, and to grow in our faith. As we wait, we learn to rest in the knowledge that God is in control, and His timing is always perfect. There will be moments when we feel like giving up, when the obstacles seem insurmountable and the road ahead looks too difficult. But in those moments, God reminds us that He is with us, that He has gone before us, and that we are not alone. His presence is a constant source of comfort and strength, and when we rely on Him, we are able to overcome anything that stands in our way. God doesn't promise that life will be easy, but He does promise that He will never leave us or forsake. His faithfulness is unshakable, and we can trust that He is working everything together for our good. Even in the hardest moments, we can find peace in knowing that God is in control. His love for us is unchanging, and His plan for our lives is perfect. We may not understand why things happen the way they do, but we can trust that God is always working behind the scenes, orchestrating every detail of our lives. When life gets hard, when we feel lost, and when the road ahead seems impossible, we can turn to Him for strength. His love is an anchor in the storm, and His presence is a refuge from the chaos. We can rest in the assurance that no matter what we face, He will always be there to guide us, protect us, and provide for us. His timing is perfect, and His plans are always for our good. So when the road ahead seems unclear, remember that God is with you. Trust in His timing, lean into His promises, and know that He is working everything out for your good. Every twist and turn, every obstacle, every challenge is part of the beautiful journey He has for you. You are not alone, and His faithfulness will carry you through. Keep trusting, keep believing, and keep walking in faith, knowing that God is with you every step of the way. His love will never fail, and His plan for your life is greater than anything you could ever imagine. You can trust Him to guide you, to lead you, and to bring you to the place He has prepared for you. As we walk through life, we often find ourselves standing at crossroads, unsure of which way to turn. These moments can feel daunting, filled with doubt and uncertainty, as we look ahead and struggle to envision the path forward. The world around us tells us to move quickly, to act decisively, and to be confident in our choices. But God's way is different. He calls us to trust, not in our own understanding, but in His perfect plan for our lives. It's in the quiet moments, when we stop and listen, that we begin to feel His gentle guiding hand leading us forward, step by step. The noise of the world can drown out His voice, but when we seek Him in the stillness, we find clarity and peace. Trusting God is not about knowing every detail of the journey or having a clear blueprint laid out before us. It's about moving forward with faith, knowing that He sees the end from the beginning. His plans for us are good, and even when we don't understand the process, we can trust in the outcome. We are often tempted to rush, to take control, and to force things to happen in our own timing. But when we pause and allow God to lead, we find that His timing is always perfect. He knows exactly when to move, when to wait, and when to bring things together. Our impatience often stems from a lack of trust, from a fear that things won't work out as we hope. But in those moments, we must remind ourselves that God is in control, and He is always working for our good. Every delay, every detour is part of His plan to refine us and prepare us for what's ahead. It's not always easy to trust in the waiting, especially when we see others around us moving forward. It's easy to compare ourselves to them, to question why we're not where they are. But comparison steals our joy and distracts us from the truth. We are each on a unique journey, and God has a specific purpose for our lives that is not dependent on the timeline of others. His plans for us are tailored perfectly to who we are, and when we follow His lead, we will reach the destination He has prepared for us in His perfect timing. The waiting seasons are not a sign of stagnation, but an opportunity for growth. As we wait, we are being strengthened, our faith is being tested, and our hearts are being prepared for what lies ahead. God is not idle in our waiting. He is working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, preparing people, and setting things in motion. The progress we can't see now will soon become evident, and when it does, we'll look back and marvel at how He made it all come together. In the moments of uncertainty, we can rest in the fact that God is never far from us. He is not distant or detached from our struggles. He is intimately involved in every detail of our lives. His love for us is constant, and His presence is always near. Even when the road ahead seems dark and we can't see the next step, we can take comfort in the fact that God sees it all. He is the light that guides us through the darkness, and His word is a lamp to our feet, illuminating the path before us. We may not always understand why things unfold the way they do, but we can trust that God is sovereign over every situation. His plan is greater than anything we could imagine, and His purpose for our lives will always prevail. It's easy to look at the challenges we face and wonder if we're doing something wrong or if we're off track. We may feel like we've taken the wrong turn, but God's plan is not easily thwarted. He is faithful to lead us, even when we veer off course. There is nothing we can do that will prevent His plan from coming to fruition. When we stray, He gently guides us back to the right path. He is the shepherd who leaves the 99 to find the one, and He will always lead us back to where we need to be. The journey may not always be smooth, and there will be obstacles along the way, but with God by our side, we can overcome anything. His strength is made perfect in our weakness, and when we rely on Him, we find the courage to keep going. Every challenge we face is an opportunity for us to grow in our trust and dependence on Him. As we continue moving forward, we learn that the process of getting there is just as important as the destination itself. Our growth comes not in the arrival, but in the journey. Each step we take brings us closer to the person God is shaping us to be. Every trial, every hardship is part of His refining process, making us more like Him. The road may not always be easy, but it is in these moments that we draw closest to Him, learning to rely fully on His grace and provision. God is not just interested in where we're going, but in who we become along the way. When we focus on the destination, we miss the lessons He is teaching us in the present. The waiting is not in vain. It is during these seasons that God does some of His deepest work in us, shaping us into the people He has called us to be. It's in the waiting that we learn patience, perseverance, and trust. We are often tempted to rush through difficult seasons, but God's timing is always perfect. We must trust that He is not only preparing the way for us, but He is also preparing us for what is to come. The waiting season can feel long, but it is in this season that we build endurance, develop strength, and grow in faith. We are not meant to rush through life, but to trust God's process. His plan unfolds in His perfect timing, and as we wait, we are becoming the person He has called us to be. God's plans for us are always good, and while the path may not always be easy, it will always be worth it. The challenges we face are not a sign that we are off track, but that God is refining us, preparing us for the purpose He has for us. The road ahead may seem unclear at times, but we can trust that God is already there, guiding us every step of the way. He is faithful to lead us through every season of life, and He will never leave us or forsake us. Even when we can't see the way forward, we can trust that He is at work. So as you continue on your journey, remember that God is with you. He is guiding you, strengthening you, and preparing you for the future He has planned. Trust in His timing, lean on His promises, and know that every step you take is part of the beautiful plan He has for your life. You are not alone, and He will never leave you. Keep walking in faith, knowing that the best is yet to come. Every detour, every delay, every challenge is leading you closer to the life He has destined for you. Trust Him in the waiting, trust Him in the unknown, and know that His plan is always greater than your own. As we continue walking along life's unpredictable path, it's essential to remind ourselves that no matter how unclear the road ahead may seem, God's presence is always there, guiding us through every twist and turn. It's easy to be consumed by fear or doubt when things don't seem to go as planned. We may question whether we've made the right decisions or wonder if we've missed some crucial step along the way. In these moments, it's important to remember that God is not bound by time or our understanding of the world. He sees beyond our present circumstances and knows the outcome of our lives, even before we take our next breath. What we see as obstacles are often opportunities in disguise, opportunities for growth, for learning, for transformation. The delays and detours that frustrate us are not signs of failure. Rather, they are part of the process by which God is shaping and refining us. While the world may encourage us to rush, to force things to happen, God invites us to slow down and trust in His time. The pressure to constantly perform, to keep up with others, or to have everything figured out can be overwhelming. Yet in those quiet moments of surrender, we find peace, not because everything is falling into place right away, but because we know that God is at work, orchestrating the details of our lives. When we release our need for control and trust in His plan, we allow Him to do what only He can do. We may not always understand the process, and the path may not always seem clear, but as we move forward in faith, we can be sure that He is leading us step by step. The beauty of trusting God is that we don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to figure everything out. All He asks is that we trust Him and follow His lead. Each step we take is an act of faith, and with each step, He reveals more of His purpose for us. As we walk in trust, we begin to see that the journey itself holds value. It's not just about the destination, but the transformation that happens along the way, the growth that takes place in our hearts, the lessons we learn, and the deeper understanding of who we are in Christ are all part of God's plan. When we look back, we can see how each moment, each challenge, and each season of waiting contributed to our spiritual growth and understanding. There is purpose in every step, even if we don't fully understand it at the time. It's important to remember that we are not alone in our struggle. God is walking beside us, offering His strength, wisdom, and comfort when we need it most. Even in moments when we feel isolated or abandoned, we can rest in the truth that God is always present. His love for us is constant, unwavering, and unchanging. He is faithful to meet us where we are, in the midst of our doubts, fears, and uncertainties, and lead us to a place of peace. We may not always see the road ahead, but we can trust that God is always with us. His presence is a light in the darkness, a beacon that guides us through life's most challenging seasons. As we trust Him more deeply, we begin to understand that the waiting seasons are not in vain. They are times of preparation, moments in which God is working behind the scenes to position us for the future He has planned. Waiting is never wasted when it is in God's hands. He uses those times to teach us patience, to refine our hearts, and to strengthen our faith. What may seem like a season of inactivity or frustration is actually a time of profound transformation. During these waiting periods, God is cultivating in us the character traits that will enable us to fulfill His purpose for our lives. These are the moments when He shapes our hearts, teaching us to trust Him more deeply and to lean on Him fully. It's easy to grow frustrated when things don't happen on our timeline. We live in a world that values speed and instant results, but God's timing is different. His timing is always perfect, and when we learn to trust in His schedule rather than our own, we begin to experience true peace. The Bible assures us that God works all things together for the good of those who love Him. Even in the midst of difficulty, He is working behind the scenes, aligning everything for our benefit. Our perspective is limited, but God's is infinite. He sees the whole picture, and He knows exactly what we need and when we need it. There is comfort in knowing that we are not waiting in vain. Our waiting is part of the process that prepares us for the fulfillment of God's promises. We may not always see the immediate benefits of the waiting, but if we remain faithful, we will eventually witness the fruit of our trust in Him. Every challenge, every moment of uncertainty is preparing us for something greater. It's easy to be discouraged when we feel like we're not making progress, but we must remember that God's work in us is often invisible. He is working on our hearts, shaping our character and preparing us for what He has in store. The progress we can't see is just as important as the progress we can. As we continue to trust Him, we can rest in the knowledge that God is working. Even when we don't understand what's happening, God's perfect timing is always at work in our lives. We may not understand why things are happening the way they are, but we can be sure that He is using every moment for our good. The path may not always be smooth, but we can trust that He is guiding us through every obstacle. There will be times when we face unexpected challenges, times when the road ahead feels impossible. But in those moments, God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. When we rely on Him, He gives us the courage to keep going, even when the journey seems too hard. The key is to trust in His strength, not our own. He is the one who empowers us to face life's challenges and to overcome them. As we continue moving forward, we will see that God's plan for our lives is greater than anything we could have imagined. The road may be winding and the journey may take longer than we anticipated, but we can trust that God is leading us to a place of purpose and fulfillment. Every step we take in faith brings us closer to the person He is shaping us to be. When life feels uncertain, it's easy to become overwhelmed by fear, but we must remember that fear has no place in our hearts when we are walking with God. His love casts out fear, 1 John 4:18, and when we trust in His plan, we can find peace in the midst of the storm. Our fears may try to pull us off course, but when we keep our eyes fixed on Him, He gives us the strength to move forward. The journey may not always be easy, but it will always be worth it. God is with us every step of the way, and His presence is our comfort and our strength. He is faithful to fulfill His promises, and He will never leave us. So as we continue on this journey of faith, let us hold fast to the truth that God's plan for our lives is perfect, and His timing is always right. We don't have to understand everything or have all the answers. We just need to trust Him and follow His lead. Every step we take in faith is a step closer to the future He has prepared for us. The road may not always be clear, but we can trust that God is with us, guiding us and leading us to a place of purpose and fulfillment. As we walk through life, it's easy to get caught up in the immediate circumstances and focus only on what we can see right in front of us. We become so immersed in the struggle, the challenges, and the obstacles that we fail to realize that there is so much more going on behind the scenes. Life isn't just a series of events strung together without any purpose. Every moment, every hardship, every joy, every challenge is part of a bigger picture that God is painting with His infinite wisdom and love. While we may not always understand the process, we can trust that the journey is leading us to something greater. Our present circumstances are just a small part of a much larger story that God is weaving in our lives. He is the master storyteller, and every twist and turn is part of His grand narrative. It's so easy to lose sight of the bigger picture when we're in the midst of difficulties. When we're struggling, it can feel like the world is closing in, and it's hard to see beyond the immediate. We may feel overwhelmed by the weight of our problems, unsure of where to turn, or whether we'll make it through. But in those moments, it's crucial to remember that we are not alone in this journey. God is right there with us, walking beside us every step of the way. He sees us, He understands our struggles, and He has a plan to bring us through them. The obstacles we face are not there to defeat us, but to strengthen us. They are opportunities for growth, moments when we can learn to trust God more deeply, rely on His strength, and discover His faithfulness in new and profound ways. God's love for us is unchanging, and His plans for us are always for our good. Even when we cannot see the outcome, we can trust that God is working in ways we cannot understand. His ways are higher than ours, His timing is perfect, and He will bring His plans to completion in our lives. As we move forward in faith, we must remember that we don't have to have everything figured out. The pressure to know all the answers and to have a clear direction at all times can be overwhelming, but that's not how God operates. He doesn't ask us to know everything. He simply asks us to trust Him and take the next step in faith. We are called to walk by faith, not by sight. When we fix our eyes on Him, He will lead us exactly where we need to go, even if we can't see the way ahead. It's easy to look at the road ahead and feel uncertain. There are times when we don't know what the next step is, or what the future holds. We may feel like we're walking in the dark, unsure of where we're going or how we're going to get there. but in those moments we can trust that God is our light. He is the one who illuminates our path, showing us the way, even when it seems uncertain. His word is a lamp to our feet and a light to our path. Psalm 119:905. The more we walk in faith, the more we begin to see the beauty in the journey. We start to realize that it's not just about reaching the destination, but about the transformation that happens along the way. Every step we take in faith is a step toward becoming the person God has called us to be. It's in the waiting, in the challenges, and in the growth that we begin to reflect His character more clearly. The journey is where we learn, where we grow, and where we become more like Christ. It's easy to become focused on the destination and forget that the process itself has immense value. Our character is developed in the waiting seasons, our faith is deepened, and our dependence on God is strengthened. God uses every part of the journey to prepare us for what He has planned. He is constantly working behind the scenes, arranging everything in His perfect timing. We may not always understand why things happen the way they do, but we can trust that He is working everything out for our good. Our limited perspective often prevents us from seeing the whole picture. We can only see what is right in front of us, but God sees the entire journey. He knows what is best for us, and He knows exactly when the right time is for us to step into the next season of our lives. Trusting God means acknowledging that His timing is always perfect, even when we don't understand it. It's about letting go of our need to control everything and surrendering our plans to Him. We may not always get what we want when we want it, but we can trust that God's plans for us are far better than anything we could imagine. Every delay, every setback, every detour is part of the process that is leading us to something greater. As we continue to trust Him, we can rest in the assurance that He will never leave us or forsake us. He is with us through every season, through every trial, and through every victory. No matter how difficult the road may seem, we are not walking it alone. God is always with us, guiding us, providing for us, and strengthening us. The challenges we face are not a sign of God's absence. They are an opportunity for us to experience His presence in deeper ways. When we encounter obstacles, we have the choice to either let them defeat us or use them as stepping stones to grow in faith. God doesn't waste our struggles. He uses them to shape us, to mold us into the person He has called us to be. As we go through the trials of life, we learn to trust Him more fully and to rely on His strength rather than our own. God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. When we are weak, He is. We don't have to rely on our own abilities to get through life's challenges. We can lean on Him, knowing that He will provide the strength and wisdom we need to overcome any obstacle. It's in those moments of weakness that we experience His grace most profound. His grace is sufficient for us, and His power is made perfect in our weakness. The road ahead may not always be easy, but we can trust that God will lead us through it. He is faithful to complete the good work He has begun in us. Philippians 1:6. Every step we take is part of His plan, and every moment is an opportunity for us to grow closer to Him. As we continue on this journey, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. Hebrews 12:2. He is the one who will lead us to victory, and He will never leave us or forsake us. In the midst of uncertainty, we can trust in His guidance, His love, and His perfect timing. The journey may not always be easy, but it is always worth it. God is with us, and He will lead us to the place He has prepared for us. As we continue our walk in faith, it becomes clear that life is a journey that requires us to make decisions. Sometimes in the face of uncertainty, we can often find ourselves in places where the next step is unclear, where we question whether we're on the right path or if we've made a mistake. In those moments, we need to remember that uncertainty is not an indication of failure. Rather, it's an opportunity to trust God more deeply. Life's unpredictability is not a mistake, but a part of God's design to stretch us, to help us grow, and to teach us how to rely on Him. Our faith journey is never meant to be about having all the answers or knowing what comes next. It is about trusting in God's wisdom and His plans, even when they don't make immediate sense to us. It's about walking with Him through the highs and lows, the moments of clarity and confusion, knowing that He is always in control. Often the journey ahead may seem foggy, but in reality, God is orchestrating every detail with love and precision. Even when we don't see it, we are being shaped by each step we take. His plan is far bigger than we can imagine, and though we may feel like we're in the dark, we can trust that God is leading us exactly where we need to be. There's a temptation to rush through life's seasons, especially when we feel uncomfortable or impatient with waiting. We may want to skip over the difficult times and jump straight to the good parts. But in those moments of waiting, God is doing His most profound work in us, Patience is cultivated in the waiting, and perseverance is built in the struggle. While we might wish for a shortcut, the process of growth takes time, and it's essential to trust that every step we take is part of the greater story God is writing for us. It's not about how quickly we can get through the difficulties, but how we endure them with faith. The process is where we learn to trust God with everything: our dreams, our desires, our failures, and our successes. The waiting seasons are a gift, even though they may not always feel like it. In our impatience, it's easy to forget that God is preparing us for something great. The very challenges that we face are working in our favor, shaping us into the people we need to be in order to step into our future. Just as gold is refined by fire, we are refined by the trials we face. Every trial, no matter how hard, has a purpose. Every setback is an opportunity for growth, and every struggle makes us stronger. God doesn't waste our pain or our struggles. He uses them to mold us into His likeness and to bring us closer to the person He's called us to be. It's easy to focus on the struggles themselves, to feel as if we're stuck in the middle of a never-ending battle. But we must remember that God is working in the midst of it all. He is refining us, preparing us, and making us ready for the blessings He has in store. Trusting in His timing is essential. His timeline is not ours, and that's okay. We don't need to rush ahead or worry about where we should be at any given moment. What we need to do is trust in the process, knowing that God is never in a hurry. He is intentional in everything He does, and every moment is preparing us for what comes next. His plan is already in motion, and we are simply walking alongside Him, taking each step as it comes. Even when we can't see the whole picture, we can trust that God sees it all. He knows exactly where we're going, and He is leading us there. Our task is not to figure out the destination, but to walk in faith, step by step, trusting that He will guide us. There will be times when we feel weary or discouraged, when we feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders. In those moments, it's important to remind ourselves that God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. When we feel like we can't go on, that's when He picks us up and carries us. His grace is sufficient for every moment of our lives. The very moments we think we can't handle are the moments when God is doing His most powerful work in us. His strength enables us to keep moving forward when we feel like giving up. Trusting in His power, not our own, is the key to moving through the tough seasons. It's not about our ability to overcome, but about relying on Him to help us overcome. And when we do, we find that we are stronger than we ever thought possible. The waiting seasons, the struggles, and the moments of doubt are not the end of the story. They are part of the process that prepares us for the future God has prepared. We may not understand the process, but we can trust that it is for our good. God's plan is always for our benefit, even when it feels difficult. When we look back on our lives, we will see how every challenge was used by God to bring us to the place where we are today. And as we move forward, we will see how every challenge will lead us to the next chapter of His perfect story. The journey is not easy, but it is worth it. God is with us every step of the way, guiding us, strengthening us, and preparing us for what's ahead. And when we trust Him completely, we will find that the journey is not just about reaching a destination, but about becoming the person God has created us to be. Each step of faith, no matter how small, is a step closer to the person He wants us to be. Every challenge we face is an opportunity for growth, and every moment of waiting is a chance for us to deepen our trust in Him. We don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to understand everything right now. We just need to take the next step in faith, knowing that God is leading us to something greater. The road ahead may not always be clear, but if we continue to walk with Him, we will eventually reach the place He has prepared for us. The journey will be worth it, and in the end, we will look back and see that every moment, every challenge, and every step was part of His perfect plan. The road may seem long, but we are never alone. God is with us, and His faithfulness will carry us through. So as we continue forward, let us remember that the journey is not just about the destination, but about the transformation that takes place along the way. We are becoming more like Christ every day, and every challenge, every trial, is shaping us into the person He has called us to be. Trust in the process, trust in His timing, and know that God is always with you, leading you, guiding you, and preparing you for the future He has planned. As we walk through life, it's easy to become fixated on the obstacles, the unknowns, and the parts of the journey that seem uncertain. The tension between where we are and where we think we should be can create an overwhelming sense of frustration. Yet it is in these very moments of uncertainty that God often calls us to a deeper level of trust. It's easy to trust when the path is clear, when we can see the next step, and when everything seems to be going as planned. But real faith is exercised when we can't see the outcome, when the road ahead is uncertain, and when the steps we need to take seem unclear. In those moments, God is asking us to release our grip on control and trust that He is guiding us, even when we can't see where we're going. The key to moving forward is not in knowing all the answers, but in trusting the one who holds the answer. God, in His infinite wisdom, knows the path we need to take. His plan for our lives is far greater than anything we can imagine, and though we may not always understand His ways, we can trust that He is working for our good. Every challenge we face, every delay we experience, and every moment of waiting is part of His master plan, shaping us into the person we are meant to become. As we move through life, we can sometimes become bogged down by the weight of our own We live in a world that values success, instant results, and clear answers. There is a constant pressure to perform, to prove that we're on the right track, and to show that we have everything figured out. But the truth is, we don't need to have all the answers. What we need is trust. Trust in God's timing, trust in His plan, and trust that He is working behind the scenes to make everything beautiful in its time. The moments when we feel uncertain or unsure are often the very times that God is doing His most powerful work in us. He uses the waiting, the struggles, and the trials to refine us, to shape our character, and to help us grow in ways that we would never experience otherwise. It's easy to want to rush through the difficult times, to avoid the pain, and to push forward to the next stage. But God uses those moments of waiting to prepare us for what's ahead. We may not see the significance of the waiting in the moment, but when we look back, we will see how everything was part of God's perfect plan. It's in the seasons of uncertainty that our faith is tested. It's easy to trust when things are going well, but true faith is built in the waiting, in the moments when we don't have all the answers, and in the times when the road ahead seems uncertain. These moments are opportunities for us to rely on God more fully, to trust in His goodness, and to remember that He is with us even when we can't see the way forward. In those moments when we feel stuck or uncertain, we must remind ourselves that our understanding is limited, but God's understanding is infinite. What we see as obstacles or setbacks, God sees as stepping stones, each one bringing us closer to the person He has called us to be. It's in those moments that we have the chance to step out in faith, to trust that He knows what's best, and to believe that He is working everything together for our good. Every time we take a step in faith, we are building our trust in Him, and with each step we move closer to the destiny He has planned for us. The more we trust, the more we begin to see that the waiting and the uncertainty are not in vain. God uses every part of our journey to teach us, refine us, and prepare us for the future He has in store. It's in those moments of waiting that we learn patience, perseverance, and dependence on Him. Every trial we face becomes an opportunity to strengthen our faith, to trust Him more deeply, and to see His hand at work in ways we may not have noticed before. Even when the road ahead is unclear, we can trust that God is already there, preparing the way and guiding us step by step. The more we trust Him, the more we begin to see that each moment, no matter how difficult, is part of His perfect plan. Trusting in God's timing means allowing Him to lead us, even when we don't understand the process. We may not see the fruit of our labor right away, but we can be confident that every step we take is leading us towards something greater. Trust is not always easy, especially when we are facing trials or experiencing setbacks. But it's in those very moments that we grow the most. It's easy to trust when everything is going well, but it's in the struggles, the waiting, and the moments of uncertainty that our faith is truly tested. It's in these moments that we learn to lean on God, to trust His wisdom, and to believe that He is always working for our good. Every trial we face is an opportunity for us to grow in our faith and to learn to rely on God's strength, not our own. The road ahead may seem unclear at times, but we can trust that God is guiding us, even when we can't see the full picture. Our role is not to figure it all out, but to take the next step in faith, knowing that God will reveal the path when the time is right. The key to moving forward is not in knowing everything, but in trusting God, step by step, as He leads us along the way. Every challenge, every obstacle, and every moment of waiting is part of the process that is leading us to the future He has planned for us. We may not understand the process, but we can trust that God, He sees the end from the beginning, and He is guiding us toward the place He has prepared for us. When we look back, we will see how every moment of uncertainty, every challenge, and every trial was part of His plan to shape us into who we were meant to be. Trusting in God's timing is not always easy, but it is always worth it. His timing is perfect, and His plan is greater than anything we can imagine. We can trust that He will lead us to the place He has prepared, and that His presence will be with us every step of the way. Even when the road ahead is unclear, we can trust that God is guiding us, and that He will never leave us or forsake us. His love for us is constant, and His faithfulness is unchanging. So, as we continue on this journey, let us remember that we are not walking alone. God is with us, guiding us, leading us, and preparing us for the future He has planned. We don't have to have everything figured out. We simply need to trust Him, take the next step in faith, and know that He is with us every step of the way. As we continue to walk through life, the journey often brings moments of profound revelation and moments of deep struggle. We can easily become distracted by the challenges we face, by the obstacles that seem insurmountable, and by the weight of the unknown. It's during these times, however, that God is teaching us invaluable lessons, often in ways we don't immediately recognize. The road ahead may not always appear as we expected, and the things we thought we would achieve by now may still be out of reach. But this is where faith becomes most powerful. It's not about seeing the finish line right away, but about trusting that God has already mapped out the perfect path for us. Life's unpredictability doesn't mean we've lost our way. It means we are being led by someone who sees beyond what we can comprehend. Sometimes we get so caught up in the process that we forget that the goal is not just the destination, but the transformation that happens within us along the journey. Each step, no matter how challenging or uncertain, is part of the process that is molding us into who we are supposed to be. The true beauty of the journey lies not in how quickly we can reach the end, but in how much we allow God to work in us, teach us, and refine us as we walk. These moments of struggle, doubt, and waiting are often when God is shaping our character the most, preparing us to handle the blessings He will bring our way. In the midst of waiting, we learn patience. In the midst of uncertainty, we learn trust. And in the midst of hardship, we learn resilience. Even when everything seems out of control, God is orchestrating it all. We may not understand the reasons behind the delays, but we can trust that they are part of the bigger plan. What we perceive as setbacks are often God's way of setting us up for something far greater. We live in a world that demands quick results, where instant gratification is the norm. But God's timeline doesn't align with our own. He's working at a pace that is perfect for us, even if it doesn't align with our expectations. In our impatience, we may feel frustrated, as if we're stuck or being left behind. But God's work is often done in the waiting. He's preparing us for the very thing we desire, but He knows that we need to grow, mature, and be ready to handle it when the time comes. His perfect timing is a reflection of His love and His wisdom. He knows exactly when to open doors, when to close them, and when to hold us in a season of waiting. When we're faced with uncertainty, it's easy to want to rush ahead, to take matters into our own hands, and to try to fix everything ourselves. But God invites us to surrender our plans and trust His. He is working behind the scenes, even when we can't see the full picture. Trusting Him means letting go of our need to control and embracing the journey with all its twists and turns, knowing that He's leading us exactly where we need to go. The more we surrender, the more we experience His. There is a beautiful paradox in the way God works in our lives. He asks us to surrender, and in return He gives us the peace we desperately seek. In the world's eyes, surrendering might seem like weakness, but in God's eyes, it's the ultimate act of strength. It's when we let go of our own plans that we make room for His greater purpose. We can find freedom in trusting that God's plan is always for our good, even when we don't understand. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting that God has all the answers, even when we can't see them. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, He is always with us, guiding us, and working in us. This kind of trust isn't easy to come by, but it is strengthened through the experiences of life. Each challenge we face gives us an opportunity to choose faith over fear, trust over doubt, and surrender over control. With each step, we become more reliant on Him, and the more we rely on Him, the stronger our faith becomes. In moments of difficulty, it can feel as though we're facing an uphill battle with no end in sight. But God's Word tells us that even the smallest step of faith can move mountains. The strength to keep going doesn't come from our own abilities, but from the power of God within us. Our responsibility is simply to take the next step, trusting that He will provide everything we need to move forward. He has already equipped us with everything we need to overcome the obstacles in our path, and as we continue to trust in Him, He will continue to provide the strength, wisdom, and courage to face whatever comes our way. We may never know all the reasons why things happen the way they do, but we can trust that God sees the bigger picture. He is not only concerned with our ultimate destination, but He is deeply invested in the process of getting there. He uses each part of the journey to teach us, shape us, and prepare us for the next chapter of our lives. The process is as important as the end result. God's plan for us isn't just about achieving goals, it's about becoming the people He created us to be. Every challenge, every waiting season, and every step of faith brings us closer to that person. When we focus only on the destination, we miss out on the lessons and blessings that come along the way. The journey is where we build resilience, character, and deep trust in God. It's where we develop the qualities that will enable us to handle the future that God is preparing for us. In the same way that an athlete builds strength through training, we build spiritual strength through our experiences. Every hardship, every test of faith builds our endurance and our capacity to handle what God has in store for us. The road may be long, and there may be times when it feels like we're not making progress, but God's work in us is not measured by how fast we move, but by how deeply we trust. We must remember that every step we take in faith is a step closer to the life God has planned for us. His plans are perfect, His timing is perfect, and every season of waiting is leading us closer to our destiny. When we trust Him, we can be sure that He will lead us to the place we're meant to be. As we continue moving forward in faith, let's hold on to the truth that we are never alone. God is with us in every season, guiding us, teaching us, and preparing us for the future He has planned. Each step we take is a step closer to the fulfillment of His promises. The journey may not always be easy, but it is always worth it. And when we reach the destination, we'll look back and see how each moment, each challenge, and each step was part of His perfect plan. Trusting in God's timing isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. As we walk by faith, we can trust that He is leading us exactly where we need to be, and that the road ahead, though uncertain, is filled with purpose and meaning. As we continue to move through life, the path ahead often feels clouded with uncertainty. We find ourselves questioning our next step, wondering if we are truly on the right journey. Yet in these moments of doubt, it's important to remember that our journey is not just about where we end up, but about how we walk the path. The challenges we face, the moments of waiting, the seasons of silence, they all shape us, mold us, and prepare us for the purpose God has laid before us. The process of becoming is often just as significant as the destination, and we must learn to embrace the waiting and the uncertainty, knowing that God is at work in the unseen. There are seasons when it feels like we're not making progress, like we're stuck in a place of stagnation. We may wonder if our efforts are in vain or if we are wasting time, but God sees the bigger picture, and He uses even these seemingly quiet and uneventful moments to shape us. In His perfect wisdom, He knows when we need to grow, when we need to pause, and when we need to move forward. Trusting in God's timing means accepting that there will be seasons where we won't understand the process, but we can trust that He is guiding us through it. Our limited perspective makes it difficult to see the entire plan, but God's view is infinite, and He sees every part of our lives with clarity. He is not only aware of where we are, but also of where we're headed. We may not always feel like we're moving forward, but each step of faith is a step closer to becoming who we are meant to be. It is easy to become discouraged when the journey doesn't look like we expect. We may feel like we are walking in circles or wandering aimlessly, but God is never without purpose. Every step, every moment, every decision is part of His divine plan for us. Even the detours, the moments when we feel lost, are part of His greater design. It's not always about achieving goals, but about the transformation that happens in us as we walk through life. When we shift our focus from the end result to the present journey, we begin to see that every moment holds value. God is teaching us in the waiting, He is shaping us in the trials, and He is refining our hearts in the struggles. The waiting seasons are not wasted, even when they feel uncomfortable or long. These are the times when our roots grow deeper, when our faith is tested and strengthened, and when we learn to rely more fully on God's strength. It's in these moments that we become more resilient, more patient, and more dependent on His. God's work in us is not always visible, but it is always happening. The things we can't see, the internal changes, the shifts in our hearts, the quiet moments of growth, are just as important as the outward signs of progress. Trusting in His timing means knowing that even when we can't see immediate results, He is at work, and in His perfect timing, the fruits of our labor will become evident. We often look at the journey of others and feel as if we are falling behind. We compare our progress to theirs, wondering why we haven't reached certain milestones or achieved our goals yet. But we must remember that our journey is unique, and it's not meant to look like anyone else's. God has a specific plan for each of us, and the timeline is perfectly suited to our individual needs. The paths we take, the lessons we learn, and the experiences we have are all part of His design. The struggles we face, the waiting we endure, and the uncertainty we experience are all shaping us into the person we need to become in order to fulfill the purpose He has set before us. When we step into the unknown, we are not alone. God is with us every step of the way, guiding us, providing for us, and giving us the strength to keep moving forward. His presence is our peace in the midst of uncertainty. He holds our future, and He is trustworthy. When we step into faith, even when we don't know what's ahead, we are stepping into the safety of His hands. And while the road may not always be easy, we can trust that He is preparing us for something far greater than we could imagine. Trusting in God's timing means embracing the journey, even when it's hard, and believing that the end result is worth it. The waiting, the struggles, and the challenges are not in vain. They are part of the process of becoming who God created us to be. Each moment, each challenge, and each step of faith is leading us closer to the purpose He has designed for us. The road may seem long, and the path may be unclear at times, but we are not walking it alone. God is with us, and He is leading us every step of the way. The key is to keep moving forward, even when the road is uncertain. The more we trust God in the waiting, the more we begin to see that the waiting is not wasted. Every moment of doubt, every struggle, and every obstacle is preparing us for what lies ahead. God is using these moments to shape us, to refine us, and to prepare us for the future He has for us. When we trust in His timing, we can be confident that He will lead us to exactly where we need to be. The journey may not always be easy, but it is. And when we reach the destination, we will see that every moment of waiting, every season of struggle, and every step of faith was part of the process that led us to this moment. Trusting God's timing doesn't mean we won't face difficulties. It means we trust that He is using those difficulties to shape us, to grow our faith, and to prepare us for the future He has in store.